that opened my eyes. Yes, I have been doing some of those things that you mentioned, but a few things that I thought I should include. The spirituality. In fact, yesterday I was looking through my spirituality and I talked to myself after the lesson, and I am doing Bible marathon at the moment. I was late by 3 days, so you imagine how much it needs to capture. So I went home and I did it, and I said I would do it to the letter every day. So that is part of this learning that we got yesterday. The other area that I looked at it was social, and I kept saying I am still juggling. Now, who are these people who have the right of interference? Yes, I know I have 1, 2, 3 at the workplace, but out there, do I have? Then I looked at myself and I said, okay, I think the reason why I don't have many people out there, I have few here, is because I have suffered the clever food. I've suffered from that syndrome. Yeah. Being at work so many hours and out there very few hours, and home is somewhere to sleep and not to socialize, let alone outside the home. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's what you can share with anybody. Okay then. Anybody else wants? Oh, yes.
Mine is a question.
Yes.
You told us about reading ourselves 50%, reading our bosses 20%, and leading our peers 15%. Why is the other 15%?
It's your subordinates. That was an easy one. Okay. I hope the next question will also be easy. Okay, yeah, there's another one on that side.
Mine is just a comment from what you said. What stood out for me was the distinction between private, personal, and public life. And that either of that can interfere with the others, and that each of them needs to be dealt with appropriately to avoid interference.
Okay. What do you think receives little attention between public, personal, and private? Which is likely to be the one, not all of us, but many of us suffer from? Which one? Private. After all, who knows? Yeah, and we no longer live for ourselves, we live for public view, isn't it? When you dress, sometimes you dress, sometimes young people, okay, I was young, but I'm no longer too young. But sometimes you find somebody dressed so badly, you wonder why they dress like that. I still remember doing interviews, and we were interviewing a girl whose dress was so high from below and so low from above. And they are coming for an interview. And normally they are in their 20s and the managers are in their 40s. Am I right? Yes. Now, if you are a wise person, you don't dress for your boyfriend. He is unlikely to be the interviewing panel. You dress for your father. So you dress and then ask your father, am I well? Yes. Go to your mother and say, am I well? Yes. Because they are likely to be the ones in the interview, isn't it? That girl, and the way you put the 4 men there in the panel, and you give her a chair over there, then she sits, and there are 8 eyes looking at her. The trouble with a short dress, when you sit, it becomes shorter. And the 8 eyes looking. Now, so she sits like that and realizes the eyes are there. So she turns like that. Then she realizes that is directly facing another man. She turns like this. So the whole interview was, you ask her a question, she didn't hear the question. She was trying to answer. So you have no, in the end, she couldn't get the job. And you have no idea whether it was because she didn't hear the questions, she was answering so foolishly, you could not give her the job. What was the problem? She dressed for other people rather than dressing for herself. So we are so conscious about the public within our own lives, isn't it? So it's important that this PDP is personal. You are thinking about your own personal development. So I'm in agreement. The private life, because after all, nobody knows about it, is the one. Like my sister here, if you don't read, who cares? It's just between you and God, isn't it? Yeah, so when there are too many things, that's the one you keep aside. And yes, there's the one that will make you, next time a subordinate tells you something, you lose your temper. Then you said something you regret later, isn't it? It all came from the little time you put in your private area, isn't it? So it's accurate now. And finally they say, no, you can't manage. You have a problem with management. We would have to remote you. They came from not reading the Bible. Are you getting the point? And I think that's the point he is delivering. That all of them interfere with one another. Who else wants to make a comment or a question? The last one? Or we leave it there? Yeah, so it's my prayer that, and I suggest you don't allow the month of February to finish before you look for a chunk of time, a Saturday afternoon when nobody can interfere, and you think through your own life. And then do that every quarter, every end of the year. You look at it and see how you are developing. And you'll see the kind of impact you have in your public life once you have sorted out your private life and your personal life. Today, we want to look at the issue of leadership being provision of vision and empowerment for the organization and its individuals. In other words, yesterday we are here emphasizing the impact on individuals, but we want to look at the totality of your department or your section and how your leadership role will affect how far that group will go. I want to start by telling you how many are in the current position only for the last 1 year. In other words, you promoted on 1 year ago. Quite a fraction. How many are in that position for more than 2 years? That means you are holding that job, in that position. Okay, half. So we are like half-half. And I want to suggest to you that you understand that there are 3 things you require in your new supervision role. 3 things. You require human skills, technical skills, and conceptual skills. We can divide them in several areas, but leadership gurus say if you divide them like that, you can now put all the other competencies somewhere along the way. You must have technical competencies, then you must have human relational competencies, then you must have conceptual competencies. And we will look at them, each one of them, in order for us to understand how they play in. Maybe I start by defining what we mean by technical skills. Technical skills are skills required to do the technical things in your job. For example, if you are the nursing sister in charge of St. Andrews, is there a word called St. Andrews? Yes. Yeah. If you are the sister in charge of St. Andrews, surely you need to understand about how to do with the doctor. That's technical, but it's also relational. But there are certain things the doctor expects you to have done before he comes for review. Am I right? Yes. If you don't know it, the doctors will be on strike saying you should be fired. Am I right? So you require those technical skills. And you can't be a good leader if you don't invest in understanding the technical side of your job. Again, thinking of St. Andrews, you need to understand how the equipment works. If you don't understand how the equipment works, the doctor expects you to know. Am I right? Yes. And you don't have to know yourself, but you need to know somebody who knows. Are we together? Yes. Because you are the supervisor, you need to, you say, hey, I don't know, who can we ask? For you to be a good leader, you yourself must know something about the technical things. I used to argue in my job that I must know what my subordinates know, but I cannot do it as well as them. Let me repeat the statement. Every supervisor must know what the juniors do, but they should be aware they cannot do it as well as the subordinates. You need to understand that. That if somebody is turning on that machine every day, they know something the supervisor doesn't know, isn't it? But the supervisor must know what it means to turn it. Don't. If they say that the thing is not working, where? Not working. Now, you should be able to tell what is not working. So that if they are taking you for a ride, you can tell them, I'm coming off the horse. I am not agreeing to be taken for a ride. Because a lot of subordinates take leaders for a ride. And the others are watching and saying, what a fool. Now, you need to make sure the first thing when you go to a new job, you must agree to be taught. Even if you are being taught by your subordinates. We said that yesterday, isn't it?
Yes.
Those are technical skills. In a hotel situation, making an egg is a technical skill. You need to know how to make eggs. So, you may not be able to make as many eggs as your chef, but you must know how eggs are made. That's critical. So, that's what we call technical skills. And every job has a technical side. If you're a house girl, there's a technical side. How to cook. That's a technical side, isn't it? Yeah. Or how to make a crying baby keep quiet. if you have some babies and you're a house girl. If you go near a baby and it cries louder, you'll be fired. It's a technical thing to know how to do it. Are we together? So I may not go to every job because I don't even know them, but you need to ask yourself, what makes your job work? What are the technical things that make your job work? You need to know them even if you are not good at them. I told you yesterday, it is not difficult to be good at them. It is impossible. Why? When you are promoted because you have come in one line, but as you grow senior, you are in charge of many, many areas you have never understood. Are we together? Yes. But you need those other areas you have never worked. All that is required is for you to know. Remember the thing we used yesterday? Oh, sorry. All those are already.
Take it up
and then I rap. Thank you. It's good to have helpful people.
I wanted to do the work.
Okay. So, yesterday we saw that if we are talking about competence, there are 3 levels of competence. You can have knowledge level. You are competent, yes. To which level? Knowledge? Some people call it level 1. Then there is skill level. Then there is mastery. But there is another one we normally put there called awareness. Awareness simply says, I know there is a machine. That's awareness. You can't do anything with it. But it's okay to have, at least there should not be anything within your supervisionary ground which you are not aware of. When somebody says, by the way, there is a knife. Hiya, you mean there has been a knife? No, that's not. You are not allowed. That is incompetence. You must be aware of everything within your area of operation. Are we together? But to be aware doesn't help. Like if you're in a kitchen, you're aware that eggs are made by breaking. Now, that's awareness. But you don't even know how what is done. You cannot write a paper on how to make an egg. You need to understand that some places you are allowed to have just awareness level, which is called level 1. But other areas, you must progress from awareness to knowledge. Knowledge means you can even give a lecture on how it is done, although you yourself cannot do it. And most of us in management, we normally don't go beyond that grade. So you need to work on the technical area. Not everything must you go to. Everything you must clear the awareness level. But some things you don't have to be more than aware. But then there are others which you must go beyond awareness to knowledge. And that means knowledge, I've told you, definition of knowledge is, I can explain it, I know what is done, although I myself may not be able to do it. Now skill is, I'm not only aware, not only knowledgeable, I have actually done it. That's why I like your training in nursing, because by the time you finish, you are not only aware of what happens in nursing, you not only can explain how it is done, you have done so many practicals, you have some skill of nursing. Am I right? Many courses, do you have that kind of skill? No. So you need to understand that you cannot get skills from a lecture. I know I'm trying hard, but the level I'll get you is knowledge. I cannot get you to skill. Because skill is to take the PDP I taught you about, prepare it yourself, review it, prepare it, within no time you have skill. So that's what you need. So you need to check in your job. What part of my job I don't have to do more than aware? What part of my job do I have to, on the technical issues, do I have to be at knowledge level? Which are some of those I must have skills about? Then there is some you need to go beyond skill. Skill means I know how to do it, I have done it. Mastery means I can review how it is done. I'm such a specialist that anybody will not say, what's wrong with you? They trust me. They know I'm an expert in this area. So I don't have to do it the way you normally do it. If I'm a chief chef, instead of breaking the egg with the edge of the pan, I can break it by turning it around and comes down and breaks, and nobody will ask me. Because I'm level 4. What is level 4 called? Mastery. And very few people ever reach mastery. They are called specialists. And most times, leaders, there is nothing the leaders do that ever requires mastery. Because when you become mastery, it means you have to do it at a skill level. Do it until you are no longer just a skill. You can revise how it is done. So most supervisors are not made to be. And anyway, the day you are made a supervisor, they reduce your time for skill, isn't it? So you can't, and that's why it's important that the organization learns how to reward people with mastery who are not supervisors. Are we together? Because of not having systems, we normally promote people, the management guru call it, to their level of incompetence. Because you have done so well technically, we make you a boss. And yet you don't have the other skills that are required. Now, you no longer have the time to do your thing, and you are not doing it now. But that's one of the problems when you're in a hotel. Let me again use hotel industry. In hotel industry, you start as a kitchen cook. You cook so well, the boss is so happy, he makes you a senior chef. That means you have several cooks around you. Then you are so good, you are made a chief chef. Already at the level of chief chef, you have a problem. Because what you know is how to make eggs. So even when you're a chief chef, what do? Eggs. And yet the work of a chief chef is not to make eggs. It's to look for where the eggs are coming from. So in the business making eggs, the eggs run out. Because for you, you know the thing you know is, you never understood a chief chef is not a maker of eggs. Are we together? Now, I know I'm using eggs, but I'm sure you know in your job how you make eggs. Because of where you came from, because of your background, you never allow anybody else to do it. After all, nobody can do it as well as you. So you always say, move aside, let me show you how it is done. In the meanwhile, nobody is doing your work. Are we together? So, remember you're talking about empowering the individuals and organization. Until you understand that idea, there will be a problem. Somebody was promoted to be a hotel manager, and he still was every morning going to the kitchen to make eggs. Customers are coming to the hotel to see whether they can sign up a contract. They are told, wait, he is making eggs. Within no time, since he is not giving marketing support it requires, he is not giving supplies the support it requires, the hotel came down. That's why we say don't promote people who are specialists. You may destroy them because you will fire them soon and destroy your organization. What you're after is how you can build the department. And I want you to do that. So that all to do with technical. Ability to do what is done. What service do you offer? What product do you offer? How do you make them? Second is called human relational skills. Here, We are talking about skills of working in a team. How do you work with a team? There are people who are good specialists, but they don't know how to work with others. Have you met them? They simply don't know how to work with others. That's one of the problems of universities, where they make somebody a professor because he was good in first degree, second degree, got a PhD quickly. Then they made him a professor because he has produced a lot of papers. And who is a professor? A professor is somebody who increasingly knows more and more about less and less until he knows everything about nothing. Now, so you need to understand. You make him a teacher because a professor is a senior teacher, isn't it? Yes. But he should have been sent to a research station because he has the knowledge, but he can't communicate. Have you met people like that? Yes. So you need to ask yourself, what am I, in promoting this person, what am I looking at? And I want to tell you something, it is an important thing to understand. Nobody ever became a good leader who did not have interpersonal skills. Because if you have a vision, you have to communicate. Communication is a human relational skill, isn't it? If you are looking, if you are motivating our people to do something, it's a human relational skills. If you are explaining what is to be done, human relational skills. So many people who are technically qualified are the worst leaders you can ever have. And some of them are seated here. But you're not about to ask hands up. There's not going to be an altar call. So you need to ask yourself, after you have sorted out your technical area, how are you on your human relational skills? Let me ask you something. Have you ever organized anything other than at work? Because you see, when it comes to human relational skills, they have nothing to do with the job you do. It's something normal. Are you the type of person where the family wants to have a gathering? They say, can we come to your house? No. Because you don't know the work of organizing. And yet in the office you want to be given a promotion to organize people. Now, if you can't organize your relatives, how are you going to organize people in the office? And the skills are not different. They are exactly the same skills. In your family are some crooks, some good people, just like in the office. Now, you need to be able to deal with it. Because when you talk about human relations skills, it's talking about, number one, communication skills, number two, organizational skills, number three, of motivational skills. All those are skills that you need. And by the way, hear me clearly. No career can be done without human relational skills. When you are young, we used to say, when we were in high school, people say, me, I don't like talking to people. So what do you want to become? A vet. Because when you become a vet, you deal with animals. So that reason somebody went to Kabete, it used to be called Kabete, now we say Apa Kabete. He goes there came Roa Kabete. Now, what do you want to go to Kabete? Because I don't like dealing with people. You are cheating yourself. You finish your veterinary degree, get a master's, then open a clinic in Karen. Those are the people who keep animals. And when you open your clinic, wait for the cat and the dog to be brought. No cat will ever come to your clinic unless it is brought. And cats don't talk. It's the owner of the cat that talks. So you have somebody who is technically qualified, but he's talking to people. So this Muzungu lady comes with a cat and says, there's something wrong with my cat, something wrong. Said, Mama, don't worry. Just leave it. We are recording it. Come tomorrow at this time. I'll handle it. Says, what's wrong with my cat? Says, I told you I'll handle it. I'm a specialist. So the Muzungu finally gives up, leaves the cat. The cat is treated. By the time she comes tomorrow, the cat is jumping on her, and yet it wasn't jumping. You have done the science required to do. So the Muzungu is asking, thank you very much, doctor. How is my cat? What happened? Says, it's okay, go. Pay at the door. Another clinic, far up, is somebody who is an Ahiti graduate. You know Ahiti? Yes. He doesn't even have a degree and has kept a clinic. But he has relational skills. When the lady arrives, she is told, Mama, I know it is terrible to have a cat that is sick. You know, a cat is a friend of a human being, and it really is touching. You really have my sympathy. I'll look after it. Oh, it sounds like it has a flu, but I'm not sure. I'm going to be dealing with it. The Mzungu asks all the questions. He has given all the suggestions. He goes feeling a little better. My cat has been left by somebody who cares. He works on the animal. It doesn't even become better on the first day. She's rang and told, because he can't allow the Mzungu to come. So he rings and says, Mzungu, don't come. We are still working on the cat. Come tomorrow. When he comes tomorrow, the Haiti guy has Bahati Nasibu until he found all the real diseases. So now the cat is okay and jumping. And says, oh, I'm so happy to meet you now. You are going to go happy. The cat had this disease. It's called in Latin kokokoko, but in English, this is what it is called. The Mzungu feels totally treated. Where would they be going? Where they were the first time or the second one? The specialist keeps wondering why his business is not making money. And yet he's technically better than the other one. You start understanding animals don't pay money. It is the owners who pay. And you not get the money unless you know how to relate with them. Am I communicating? Yes. The same thing with the doctors. They think that just knowing how to treat cancer is enough. Fail to talk to people right. And you'll keep your oncology clinic. Nobody comes. And you keep asking, don't people know? I am one of the 5 oncologists in Kenya. How come nobody comes? Look at them. They are going to get GPs. Don't they know those people are just Bahati Nasibu? But nobody will come your way. Because the ones you came, you insulted. And then the rumor went, you only go to that doctor when you are ready to be insulted. And how many of us want to be insulted? Are you getting the point? That if you really must empower, you must understand your technical ability will not be of much use unless you have human relational skills. And 3 things will be required if you are going to have human relational skills. Number 1 is self-awareness, which you tackled yesterday. Understand yourself. Understand what annoys you. Understand what makes you happy. When you understand yourself, when somebody does something to annoy you, you catch yourself before you get annoyed. So you are not pretending, but you are able to manage yourself better. You have enough emotional intelligence to be able to manage yourself. Number 2, ability to understand others. You are quickly able to ask questions that lead you to understand this type of a person. Who is he? Like, for example, you are dealing with a man who looks down on women. Now, surely, you must tell that very quickly, isn't it? And as soon as you realize, I'm a lady doctor, and this is a man who doesn't like dealing with women, you just quickly, since you know it will not make you different, you just behave like his mother, and how are you? I'm so grateful to have to treat you. Oh, you are such a great man. Now, once you raise his ego, he forgets you are a woman. Are we together? You have quickly learned what makes him accept you. Now he'll listen to you, and you can actually treat him. Are we together? So the second thing is a quick way of understanding the other person. Thirdly, is understanding very clearly that technical things must be simplified in the language of the other person. You must be other-centered than self-centered. There's no need of using technical Latin words. And I never went to class with you. In fact, the more you use Latin, the more I know you don't understand it. Because one way of knowing you understand it is you can interpret it in Kikuyu. Are you getting my point? So if you can't say it in Kikuyu, it means even in Latin you don't understand. So you need to speak the language of the client rather than your own language. But of course, the first 2 have to happen for you to be able to deal with that. That's what will help you to empower people and to get all the cats coming to your clinic. Are we together? Even if you are not as technically qualified as that. The third area, which we talked about, which you require for you to actually be somebody who can perform well in your new job, is conceptualization. Conceptualization is a big word for simply seeing ahead. Seeing ahead. Visualizing. Seeing things before they happen. And these are very, very important. It's one of the most important things in leadership. When you become a supervisor, everybody is busy making eggs. But you must think ahead. When these eggs run out, where shall we get more eggs? When are these eggs likely to get finished? Because the cooks are just making them. They have no idea how the eggs come. You need to now become somebody proactive. The key word of supervisor is proactivity. Unfortunately, like I'll be saying in a minute, a lot of us don't become proactive. We are unable to see things ahead. We do things as they happen. So I think it's important to deal with that. But I wanted to explain that in the introduction. So do you see the thought of project before the project begins? How can you answer the question of every activity done in your department? Why it is done? Because that is not the job of the juniors to answer the question why. The answer is the question how. Are we together? It's the work of the supervisor to answer the question why. That's what we mean by conceptualization. It's a thinking process. It uses the brain more than the hands. And it's important. So those are the three things that you require to do well in any job. However, my next statement is, not every job level requires the same things. Let's now look at this picture. If you are in supervisory management, that's the lowest level of supervision. It's the first promotion you ever get, to be given a few people to coordinate. At that level, you need a very high technical requirement. You cannot be a nursing supervisor unless you have been a nurse yourself. Because you are supervising people doing the actual nursing. Are we together? So you need to know nursing. You cannot be a lab supervisor if you have never worked in the lab. You can be the lab manager without ever working in the lab, but you cannot be a lab supervisor. So you must know that technical side is a high need. When you are promoting someone to the first level of supervision, you must look, are they capable? For example, if this is a cook who never makes eggs, they are always funny. He is told, what do you say, hard? Do you say eggs? Do you say hard egg? When you make it, what do you say, well done? Or that's meat? No, I'm not sure which is which. Now, you can't, if you're like me now, you can't even understand the terms. I can't qualify as a supervisor. I can't even qualify to be a supervisor. So it means, if somebody is among the team, cannot do the job being done, don't promote him. Because you see, the next thing will be to coordinate these people. And they know he doesn't know. Unless you want trouble, don't promote somebody who is not technically qualified in the thing you are discussing. Are we together? Having now identified the person who is technical, he knows the thing. The next thing you must check is, does he have human relational skills? Again, because a supervision, it requires that in a big dosage. So if it is somebody, he is good technically, but doesn't work well with others, then he can't become a supervisor. Because supervisor requires a very high level of interaction with people. You are actually doing the thing with them. Am I right? And when they are unable to do it, you do it, isn't it? Now that's why you cannot, because at that level, you require a very high level. The thing you need very little of is computerization. As a supervisor, the organization has given you power to order, or power to ask, isn't it? So although you still must think ahead, that's not your requirement. Don't pick somebody because he's clever, he is a kind of a person who thinks about how the next tower will be built. That guy, if you promote him, he will not qualify as a supervisor. Because he finds the job in the place too low. You must get somebody who is not a great conceptualizer. Otherwise, he will not do the job. I hope you have understood what's conceptualization. Trying to think, where is this organization going? How are we going to go there? What strategies do we use? At a supervisor's level, that's not your job. If you think, just write a note and let the people tackle. You don't appear in the strategy meetings. Am I right? Your job is operational. You make things work. You don't think why we are doing what we are doing. So that's why you see, at that level, your conceptualization is minimum. So don't pick somebody who is the kind who thinks widely, he almost believes he's the CEO of Nairobi Hospital. Don't promote him. Because if you promote him, he will feel very frustrated, isn't it? Let's come to the middle level. And some of you are in middle management, am I right? Now, at middle management, you are not supervising the workers directly. You are supervising the ones who are supervising. Am I right? At that level, you still need to understand the technical things. Because although you don't require as much technical knowledge as the supervisor, you still need to understand what the supervisor knows. Number two, you still need human relational skills. But now the difference is you are a manager. You are supposed to answer on strategies. Because the top management think up and then expect you to interpret the strategies. Am I right? So you know, for a middle management, any one of the weakness can get you down. Why? A middle manager pretends to be a part of the senior one and pretends to be a part of the junior one. Now that ability to play both ways is the tough time of being there. Because you must talk like you are in the strategy meeting, although you may not have been there. That's how you pass it down to the people who are not supposed to be involved in it, isn't it? But then you must talk like you understand the workers. So when you are telling them this strategy doesn't work, you must represent your workers. So that means you must be able to think like the top and also work like the bottom. Are you getting the point? Now, when you are now in top management, you can see you don't require any technical thing. That's why Nairobi Hospital can be run by somebody who has never worked in a hospital in his life. And you'll do something far much better than anybody who has worked in the hospital. Why? Even if you bring a specialist, the amount of work they have on their table constructing these buildings, they may never touch any medical thing. Are you getting my point? Raising the funds for all this construction, talking about dealing with the board of directors, talking to the government, is not that the work of the CEO? Yes. How much of that has something to do with the hospital? Are you getting the point? So sometimes that's what we do wrong. We promote a doctor to lead the hospital, and yet his qualification is the same as the chef. Do you remember the story of the chef? So every time he is in a board meeting, he is talking about theater. And what happened in theater? Now, they don't even understand what theater is. But that's what he's talking all the time. There is a middle-level manager who is handling theater. Are we together? Let the middle manager handle theater. For you think about what can we do to make theater better? How does the theater of the future is going to look like? You receive the paper from the middle managers. They tell you exactly what is needed. You argue your case with the board. Are we together? So it's important to understand the technical requirements. That's why Kenyatta Hospital's standing came when they put the current PS. What is a PS of what? That Masai man who was a HR manager and was made the CEO of Kenyatta Hospital. Do you remember? Yes. Then he did it so well, they promoted him and became a PS. Remember? But he turned the place. I was asking, what did he do? So he just started moving around to learn. Because he doesn't understand. He's not been a doctor. So he goes to the mortuary. He goes to the mortuary. And he asks them, what do you do? They are so bored in the place. So he says, what do you do? Oh, we just look after dead. The first thing he did, I heard. The first thing he did was to ask them, is that a good name? Says, well, can you imagine who wants to deal with the people who handle the dead? So he thought, what would you like to be called? Something else? You know, you go to a bank and they ask you to fill forms. You ask, what do you do? Look after the dead. They can't even give you a loan. So I hear the title was changed to Last Rights. I don't know, operator. Now, the bank will have to ask what are last rights. But he is no longer a mortuary attendant. Are we together? Yes. Yeah. Then he went and saw in his office was a TV set, several TV sets. He said, when you are waiting, what do you do? We just talk. He brought the TV there for them to be having rather than him. And then he changed their terms of service and said how long you do a job. And if you know how to handle people who are crying, it means the other jobs you can do, isn't it? So we look at the skills of a mortuary attendant. Then he's promoted to other offices in the hospital on the basis. Earlier, you became a mortuary attendant, you died one. Now, they had a career path. Are you getting my point? What happens? The place changes. Because you are not dealing with the person handling the dead. You are dealing with the person who handles the living. Because you are now trying to make them understand these living ones are the ones who matter. But how you handle their body makes them unhappy. Are we together? You put a doctor there, and he is used to cutting people. Now, so when you are dead, he can't think of those terms. Are you getting my point? Because now, when you are at the CEO level, you are thinking about to get people motivated. Are we together? You don't have to know the details. But you need to understand what can motivate people. So it's critical to understand that aspect. Because a lot of us sometimes don't want to be supervised by somebody because he doesn't know as much as us. But he doesn't have to know. You are the one who needs to know. Are we together? Yes. And you must know how to deal with your boss. Remember we talked about that yesterday? How he knows, he doesn't know as much as you. But he cannot do his job well unless you help him. Are we together? Yes. So that's what will help you to be able to deal with him. So that's what the 3 levels are. And I've taken so much time, the rest of the presentation, I'll not take much time. But is that clear? That depending on where you are, you require more of something. Middle, you require everything. Junior, more technical. Senior, the critical success factor is ability to conceptualize. Ability to think ahead what's happening. And if you don't have that one, you will be in trouble with your board. And you cannot really call yourself a success. That will be a critical thing. So, it is important for leaders to have all 3 skills, depending on where they are in the management structure. However, some skills are more important than others. A supervisor will need human and technical skills. Middle management requires all the skills, human, technical, and conceptual. But top-level management needs human and conceptual skills. Now, I've already talked about this, that if you have conceptualization skills, it means you are proactive. You always think about something before it happens. They don't surprise you. Seated here, we are in 3 groups. Some of us are where we approach the future as unchanging. We are more in line with the Anglican prayer book. That this to be world without ends. Even Anglican, the prayer I'm talking about. It will never change, world without end. And you are that type where you don't feel like anything should change. You are whenever someone wants to change something, you say, but you have never done it that way. So to you, the way you took the job is the way the job must continue. Even when you can see it's not getting a lot of results, you still want to do it that way. No. They say, what is madness? Madness is to do something the same way and expect different results. In fact, they tell us that one of the ways that psychiatrists want to decide who should go home and who should not go home, I was told one of the experiments they do is to ask you, they give you a pail of paper, a pail with hose, and then tell you, get the water from that tap, feel that. When you feel it, I'll allow you to go home. If you are still mad, you go there, you put the water, as you walk, it's pouring, isn't it? By the time you reach the drum, the very to remaining, isn't it? And you keep doing that the whole day. Will you feel the drum? But a person who is not mad, as soon as he says, wait a minute, this can't work. Get me another pail. This cannot. That guy can go home. Now, I don't know how many of us are mad. Now, where you do things the same way and expect different results. So you need to understand what you are saying is, conceptualization means ability to think what you are doing. Why are you doing it? And changing. So those are the worst case scenario. The next one is what we call reactive. Reactive are better than changing. Reactive means when something goes wrong, you learn out of it. So you can see they are good. They wait until something goes wrong, then they say, no. We should not do things this way so that we don't want this to go wrong again. So reactive. You know the way when we normally call someone reactive, we think they are bad people. But reactive people are good. Once beaten, twice shy. They learn out of their experience. Most Africans are reactive, not all. Most Africans. Our culture teaches us to be reactive. But where you want to go, if you want to be a leader of this organization, is proactive. You study the future to see what can go well and what can go badly and prepare for both. My book, Leadership with David Style, one of the leadership skills David had was ability to picture the future and look at both the positive and negative. You know, a lot of us think that the best thing is to be somebody who is, I know when you look at the future, you talk about people that the people who always see things going well. What do we call them? Optimists. The ones who see things go better, we call them pessimists. None of them are good. I've run out of time. But please understand, an optimist is a very dangerous person. If you're an optimist, you are likely to end up with a problem. Why? You don't ever see a problem. Anything you go to, you say it will work. So you can't even think of anything going wrong. You know, optimists. Do you have friends who are optimists? Even if they are trying to do something dangerous, say, where is the danger? What's wrong with you? Can't you see we'll become rich? Isn't that how the pyramid works? So you need to understand it's a dangerous thing. If your husband is an optimist, please accept my sympathy. It's a very dangerous thing. Because he can never see the opposite side. But if you're a pessimist, that's even worse. A pessimist believes something will go wrong. Something must go wrong. You tell him you're organizing a workshop, say the students will not turn up. But why? No, I know they'll not turn up. Please cancel it. Now, why are we canceling? Because I know it will fail. You have friends like that. Now, those are dangerous people. So, don't be an optimist. But also don't be instead be a realist. A realist is a person who is not blinded by optimism, but he is not negative, so he is able to see the good. So everything you are doing, never make a decision until you list all that will go right. If you do it, then ask yourself, what can go wrong? When you have seen what can go wrong and what can go right, you now make up your mind what is realistic. And you can't get realistic decision until you force yourself, because you can't, it is very difficult to talk something negative. So you have to force yourself. If you're ever in a meeting where I'm chairman, the committee goes through a rough time. Because they say, no, Mr. Nganga, it's obvious, this will work. I say, I don't think there's anything with the fallen creation that has nothing negative. Everything will have something negative. So it's only you are lazy. Your mind is lazy. Check what can go wrong. Why are you checking what can go wrong? Not so that it goes wrong, but so that you do things. You can do something to stop it going wrong. Number two, if you can't prevent it going wrong, you'll be prepared for it even if it goes wrong, isn't it? My husband died we've been married for more than 36 years. You have taken many loans, but you never take a loan until we ask, what will go wrong if you are unable to pay? Nobody say, but surely we can't be able to pay. Now, there are events beyond you. If they happen, what will you do? Like, for example, if you take a mortgage with the house where you are living. Now, picture yourself come thrown out onto the street. If you're able to tackle the street, now take the loan. You must always picture the worst case scenario. And if you don't, you are not somebody proactive. Proactive people look at what will go well and what will go wrong. That means the kind of decisions they make are decisions that will take. Remember, you're talking about empowering your organization. When you're able to be a realist, you can go very far with that whatever it is you are trying to achieve. A proactive approach to things strives to have an action plan to achieve a great vision and put in place a system to prevent undesirable eventualities. Always ask yourself, I'm entering into this project. What will go wrong? What am I doing? What strategies am I going to take to prevent it going wrong? And if it actually goes wrong, how will I handle what goes wrong? Then, on the other side, what will go right? What can I do to make it even better? That's what we are talking about in proactive approach. The reactive one is wait for the thing to happen, then you put corrective actions after that. But the trouble with it, it will cost you a lot. Many African cultures are reactive. We rely on our experience and that of our ancestors. We fear pointing out what might go wrong before it goes wrong. Because we believe I'm not talking about every African, I'm saying many Africans are superstitious. Even those who are PhDs, they are still superstitious. So for example, if I can see the way this lady is seated, she's going to fall. I'm unlikely as an African to tell her she will fall. If I tell her she will fall and fall, the relatives will say I'm a witch. So we don't. We wait until she finally falls, and then we say, I knew it. I knew she was going to fall. Am I right where you come from? Yes. Always they say in my vernacular, it's like a human end. Let it come out with it. So you can see clearly something goes wrong, but you don't want to say it. Otherwise they will say you are the one who caused it to go. You know the African believes nothing happens without a cause. So if it happened, if you knew it in advance, you must be the one who caused it to go wrong. And you know, it is so bad that in my generation, you could not buy clothes for a baby before the baby is born. You don't. Because if you do and make clothes for a baby who is not born, the baby will just die in the womb. Since you don't want your baby to die, you wait until the maternity you see, I have a baby. You run to Biashara Street to buy clothes like a fool. Now you need to understand. You need to understand it clear. I think somebody with a PhD, they had 9 months to prepare, but they are now running around looking where to buy. Does that happen? Yes. Why? Because as educated as we are, that African belief system is still operational. So sometimes you don't want to talk about things that can go wrong, because you think if you say they'll go wrong, that makes them go wrong. So you have to deal with that fear in yourself. You will never become proactive as long as you believe that by something will go wrong, it actually goes wrong. So it's important to ask yourself, are you still having that superstitious thing? Surely, if I say you are likely to fall, unless you think I'm God, I can't lift you up and drop you down. So there's nothing on my saying that will make you fall down. Instead, you are going to check whether you are seated properly, isn't it? And if you discover I was wrong, does it hurt? No. If you discover I was right, it will help you from falling. So you need to ask yourself, in your projects, are you acting like that in your department? Where you never want to see anything going wrong. If one of the partners says, by the way, have you thought of this? Says, don't be negative. The negative person is your savior. You know, there are even people who never want people who see the negative side in their meetings. He's a gift from God. People who are analytic or look negative. But you always people who say yes, 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 yes. Now, if your team is already saying yes, are they useful? No. You know, by them questioning, it doesn't make you change your decision. But it makes you be aware of what can go wrong. So it's important that you understand what we are talking about. It's a very critical thing. Now, unfortunately, Christianity doesn't help either. Because in Christianity, we believe that faith means you don't think, negatively. In fact, there is even a program on TV that calls Command Your Morning. Have you heard of it? The idea is what you think is what will happen. It's not even a prayer. It's a command. God can be commanded. It's not scripture. But that's the way we think. We think that if you start thinking about what can go wrong, it means you have no faith. It means that if you have faith, you always confess positive. Have you heard that being preached? That is not right. Nobody in the scriptures was like that. I told you, read my book on King David, and you'll see he looked at the negative side, yet he was one of the men of faith. Thinking about what can go wrong does not cause you not to have faith. It causes you to have faith. Because when you see what can go wrong, it will cause you to pray. Am I right? So, but a lot of people think like, if I don't think what can go wrong, then I have faith. That's not faith. It's foolishness. So you need to ask yourself, why don't you want to think about what can go wrong? And then after you know what can go wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it, you pray, isn't it? In fact, you cannot be a prayer warrior if you are just an optimist. Because you have nothing to pray about. You go before God and say, thank you, Lord. Now what else can you ask? Since there's nothing that can go wrong. Am I clear? And the reason I'm taking time with this is because it's the most important aspect of leadership. If you cannot think ahead because of this problem I'm discussing, you can't be a leader. Because you are called a leader because you lead others follow. So if you can't think ahead, how is that going to work? It will be something that you have to deal with. I spent a bit of time, but I think somebody else will be going through it. Just to show you the difference between a leader and a manager. You'll get it in the note. And the importance of dreaming. But let me spend a bit of time here before we go on. Leader is a person of influence to the group he is leading. You know, for people to follow, there are several prerequisites. You must have an agreed vision. You must sit your staff until you agree, what is this department about? You must have a question, why does this thing exist? Ask it differently. If our department was closed, what will go wrong with the vision of the hospital? Can it go on without us? If the answer is yes, then please volunteer to be fired. There's no need of continuing working there. Are we together? But you say, but everybody knows. No. People are there. Let me use a church example. You have been made the Sunday school superintendent. You're in charge of Sunday school department. You have several teachers who are Sunday school teachers. So you start thinking that you are there for the same thing. Some Sunday school teachers are there to check that their children are not pinched. Because they believe Sunday school teachers pinch children. So they think the reason they are there is to protect their children from being pinched. You think they are there to teach. No. Find out why people are there. Others are there because they want a title in the church. What do you do in the church? I'm a Sunday school teacher. Now that's a reason. Now you need to find out. Never lead a group until you first of all verify why people are in that group. Why are you existing? What do you think the department does? There is nowhere you take the group until number one, you yourself understand where you are going. Number two, your understanding is a group's understanding. And you'll be surprised what you think is obvious. People are there for different things. There are some who are there to make money. You are in maternity department, and what they want is to ensure they make maximum money for the department. So the more serious they are, the more money the hospital can make. Now, is that the reason you are there? You need to ask each other, why are we here? Because you will not be able to carry the department where it can go until all of you agree what's the right thing. Why are we here? Because if you are doing something and the doctor doesn't agree with you, there will be trouble, isn't it? So you need to pull out of the meeting. Spend half an hour away from the meeting, or even half a day. Verify, why do we exist? Of course, it's better when it's done, first of all, at the company-wide level, when it comes to your departmental level, finally to your section level. Remember, in order to empower them, they need to be sure, why do we do what we do? And the biggest responsibility of a supervisor is to assist his team to understand why you are doing what you are doing. That's what we are calling agreed vision. Not just a vision, but an agreed vision. Don't just say the company says. No, what is it that they believe? Let them ask you questions. Let it be debated. I help organizations with strategic planning. And they always say, well, I'll give you 3 people to make. I say, no, you can't make a strategic plan that way. The whole organization must participate in a strategic plan if it's going to be their plan. So they don't call it the management. They feel they themselves wrote it. So you must have enough time when people can come from work and participate in thinking about the vision. It's not top down, it must be bottom up. That's what you need. That's one of your biggest responsibilities as a leader. Number 2, you must have an agreed mission. What's the difference between vision and mission? Vision is a noun. It is what will happen if the department achieves its mission. What do you see? Now, if I'm in charge of this department for 5 years, how is the place, how are we now? How will we look like in 5 years? And more important, not how the department looks like, the people we serve. What kind of service are they receiving now? What will be the look of the service in 5? That's what vision, how it will look like. I normally say the best way of explaining vision is to use the architect's idea. Do you know, my friend, even if you have not bought any land, if you are dreaming of land, you can go to an architect. Tell him, I'm intending to buy land on the slopes of Gong, and I want you to design a building for me, and it has to have 4 rooms, because I'm not married, but I intend to have 2 boys and 2 girls and a wife. So I'll need each to have a room, and I want this and I want this. Do you know the architect will make a complete building? And these days they are doing them in 3 dimensions. You can see your children running. You are not yet married. It's all done. All done in advance. Once you have it ready, first of all, it will make you now think of marriage, isn't it? Now, it's a vision is a motivator, but it's a noun. You don't talk about what you intend to do. It's what you intend to achieve. Are we together? Yes. The best way of getting your personal, now I'm not talking about your departmental, your personal vision. You know, in the PDP, I talked about you must have a vision, isn't it? Because the PDP is to help you to fulfill the vision. Your vision is better written by your 80th birthday celebration. If you die after 80, anything wrong with that? No. So that's why we are not suggesting earlier than 80. So imagine God gives you until you are 80. At 80 years, they are having a celebration. Instead of talking about when you are dead, they want to talk about when you are still alive. And they are going to give various speeches. At the age of 25, write the eulogy. No, it's not called eulogy. The birthday speech that they are going to read at that time. That means to have a vision. To have a vision is to see the kind of impact. So write, I normally encourage you, write it down. Write a speech that will be read by your spouse, even if you are not yet married. You hear her say, today is a celebration of my lovely spouse. Okay, let's say lovely husband. And I want to tell you what it means to me. I was nothing without him. Pick me at my mother's place, a girl without hope. And for the last 50 years, he has given me hope. Now, if you write that down, you must make sure you have given her hope. Otherwise, she will read it. She will refuse to read it. She's not a liar. She's a Christian woman. She will not read it. You see, what you write will now determine how you behave now, isn't it? Are you getting the point? So then you pick another one. Right, this one is to be read by your son or daughter on behalf of the children, although you still have no child. And they'll be saying, today is the birthday of my father, who has been married for 52 years. I'm a 50-year-old grandfather myself. I hope I'll get to the age of 80 like my father. But I just want you to have a glimpse of what he has meant to me. I don't know life without my father. He was a busy doctor in a hospital, but at no time did I miss him. He was present in my life at every stage. Now, you know that's now dictating how you behave. I'm getting the point. Write it down, at least 1 page of the things, the kind of impact you intend to make on your child. Then you go to number 3. It must be, your parents are already dead, so I'm not writing any for your parents, because they can't attend your 80th birthday. It's very unlikely. So you're not writing one. The third one is you have now the spouse and the children, isn't it? It's going to be written by your professional friend. Somebody who worked with you in a hospital. Until now, both of you are retired. Your professional colleague. And you say, today is a celebration. We never imagined you reach 80. But both of us have reached 80. And I want to tell you, we made friends when we joined Nairobi Hospital together at the age of 18. Just immediately we joined nursing school. And we worked together until I left him to go to work in New York. But he continued until he moved over to Australia. And now we are back in Kenya. I just want to tell you what he has meant to me. This guy is a motivator. And many times I wanted to give up. But he always was there to tell me, no, giving up is for people who don't think you have a better brain than to give up. I remember when I was going to go to New York, I feared what the white people would do to me. And he told me they are not lions. They don't eat. They need your help. You are nothing help. Exactly like anybody else. I am happy to have a friend like this. Now, you know that means you have to be careful how you treat your friends. Otherwise, they will not agree to read you must write it such that when you give them to read, they say, yeah, this agrees. Thank you for helping me. That's the kind of speech I wanted to give. Now, when you write it, after writing about 6 of them, because you need another one for the community, another one for your relatives, another one for all the people you deal with. When you have written it, find out what is the running theme in all of them. That running theme is your vision in life. You will discover there is something, the kind of impact. Everybody is repeating something that you are making an impact in all of that. That's your vision. So you need to develop your vision. You can find a little more information in my book, The Christian Professional. Vision is a noun. What impact you have made, not on yourself, but on others by the time you die. Are we together? So I could have called it eulogy, but I don't want you to think about dying. Now I want to call it birthday speech. Now written further. Now, mission is a verb. Vision is a noun. Mission is a verb. Mission is what will you do in order to achieve your vision. What is it you do? And it's important. So back to your department, you must ask, if this is the kind of service standard we want to produce, gentlemen and ladies, ask them, don't tell them. Let it come out from a discussion with them. You are supposed to only be guiding them. Let them talk. What do we think we are here to do in order to achieve that vision? Then they are going to develop not a company-wide mission, but a departmental mission. What that department does in order to achieve the departmental vision. The only thing you must check is the mission must not contradict the hospital one, and the vision must not contradict the hospital one. So you have already got one, but you're not looking at your own area. The critical thing is everybody must agree on it. So you are calling it agreed mission. Thirdly, and importantly, the department must agree on core values. We call them core values because everybody has many values. Leadership gurus recommend no more than 6. Because the more you put them, the more you complicate your life. What's a core vision? A core vision, like we are seeing there, is a non-negotiable belief. Non-negotiable means it cannot be debated. If it is being debated, it means it's not core. For example, if the core value of the hospital, which would also be for the department, is integrity, and it's a core value, it means if somebody lies, they are not given a second chance. They are fired immediately. That's you don't put it there. A lot of people call something core and it's not core. Because there are a lot of people who are stealing and they are killing the hospital. That tells you integrity is not a core. Because you cannot work with somebody who breaks a core value. Performance you can improve. You can work with somebody who is not a performer, helping him to improve. But if somebody doesn't have your values, they should not work with you. Are we together? So you need as a department to agree. What are those core values that when I break them, I don't wait to be fired, I resign in advance? What are they? Where all of you believe. You need to debate them. Although they are given from the top, the department. Now, once you are agreed on vision, mission, and core values, it unites the team in working to achieve the vision. Are we together? Core values are boundaries within which you operate. It means, although I'm interested in meeting the vision, I would rather meet my vision rather than operate outside there. It's like I want to score, but these are the boundaries. The linesmen are there. Am I allowed to go out and change on the other side and then still score? You must operate within the boundaries. Core values are boundaries. I'm willing to fail rather than break my value. For example, if among your core values is chastity, purity, even if somebody is offering to promote you, it's not negotiable, is it? No, if it's negotiable, now only once. Now you need to know it's no longer a core value. Because when it's a core value, it is never, it's not negotiable. Now, it's important to ask yourself, what are your core values? You are willing to fail, you are willing to be fired. Those are not on the table for negotiation. You are willing to be fired. So when you want to fire me, when? Go ahead. Now, because there is no need of debating, that's my core value. But you also need to discover what are the core values of your team. And now, when you work like that, everybody gets united because they understand each other, isn't it? And they know what matters to everybody. Then the next thing you need is to develop an action plan. You must choose a course of action. Any action or change made in the company should be looked at in terms of how does the action contribute to the mission. Okay.
All right, I'm told that some people are getting sleepy because of the